so excited to be chatting to you today. We are talking and at least continuing the root discussion that we previously had pertaining specifically to natural hair issues with women. But this time we are changing it around a little bit, changing it up because for the first time ever, we will be honoring International Women's Day by speaking to women who are in different parts of the world. And what better way than to speak to you first, Diana Nkambule?
Yeah.
Oh, what now? What did you change your surname?
Oh goodness, here we go. It's actually an easy one. It's Shtapa. Shtapa. My friends, Shtapa. Yeah, my friends always like fumble around it, and they'll say Shwapa, which means a person who's got no bum.
I used to be called Shwapa in school. Everything was, I was a Shwapa. It was the worst thing ever.
Yeah, so this is now PTSD for you and for me.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so did you change your surname?
I actually have a double barrel.
So how is it? Nkambule Shtapa.
Shtapa. Yeah.
Love it.
He actually wanted me to keep my surname so that once Germany allows him to also grab my surname. He was very excited about that, having an African surname.
Wow.
But also for also one day, like if we do have kids, you know, they can also have my surname.
Yeah, it's part of your heritage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking about heritage, I mean, you have a very unique heritage and have now moved into a place, moved to a place that's just so different for you. And I initially was going to start with what is your personal, definition of women's rights. But let's talk about moving to Germany. Culturally, it's different for you. From the short time there, what have you learned about women and how they function in Germany now? Has it been a shock for you?
Wow, yes. Everything has been a shock to me. And I think the hardest part for me was I spent almost a year putting together the paperwork to get here. And obviously in that time you imagine what it's going to be like. But you can obviously never imagine, to the T. Once you get here, everything is so different. And the first thing that I obviously realized was the snow, like the shocking weather. I was very surprised because I felt I didn't feel like I stood out. Like maybe it's the area that I'm in. Maybe they're very open-minded. I'm in Düsseldorf.
Okay.
Like I felt like I was, I got here and I fitted in. I didn't feel like I stood out. And also in terms of women, like one thing that really stands out for me is they feel a sense of safety. And to a point where we'll be walking and there will be a girl in front of us on her phone with her like handbag still open, like the handbag is still open, she's walking. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm shocked, I'm scared for her.
That's a big thing. Like it's so crazy when you go overseas and you come back home and you instantly mentally take note of the fact that you're holding your bag tighter. You watching yourself when you're walking down the street, all of those things. Like I would never walk down the road with my phone held to my face, let alone earphones. Like I see anyone walking with earphones and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, let me tell you, I mean, no one wants to have this discussion. Especially if you are a South African person, not even South African woman, because obviously you want to feel very proud of your country. You want to, like wave the flag high. And I'm not making any comparison between Germany and South Africa or saying Germany is better than South Africa. But I have to admit that so far that I've been here, I can say that Germany is safer for a woman.
Yeah.
Being a woman in Germany is safer. I mean, I remember I had this experience with my husband, and it actually really stuck to him. I saw that it really like affected him. We were walking at night. Now we South Africans, we know like walking at night, you better like be sharp. And someone came running past me, and I just grabbed my handbag, like reflex. So he was holding me, and he starts like looking around to see if I'm okay. And he's like, "What's wrong?"
Mm.
And I was so embarrassed to say, yay, if someone is running past you at night and your handbag is on your side, you grab it.
Yeah.
Um, and and he just, obviously it's hard for him to find the right words, but he said, "I'm so sorry, baby.
Mm.
I'm so sorry." And that was enough. And I'll see women here will take a walk at night, and I'm holding my husband's hand like quite tightly because it's dark. I should be at home where it's safe. And I'll see women at bus stops. I'll see two women walking together at night. I'm talking nights, maybe at like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I'll see a woman leaving her house on a bicycle. And I don't know how many times I actually said to my husband, "Yo, look at that girl. You wouldn't do that in South Africa. Whew. Hi, gay girls are brave here. You wouldn't do that in South Africa."
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think they're not so much brave as much as they just have never been put in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Another
Absolutely.
thing that really kind of struck to me was kind of gender roles. And I think if we're speaking along the way or along the lines of women's rights specifically, like for example, when I was in Australia not too long ago for my best friend's wedding. She was marrying into a family with 6 siblings, right? And the oldest daughter, her sister-in-law, was single at the time, had a high-flying job, was in her early 30s, so like 32, 33. And I was just so overcome, not overcome, but I was really struck by the way that she moved, like her energy as a female, because she was literally like picking up heavy things, walking around, drilling in stuff, like just going, like in her mind, and especially within their society and the way that they operated, there wasn't like things that men do and things that females do. Like I think we maybe as South Africans, no matter how forward thinking we are, we generally like, no, let the
Yeah.
men do that, you know.
Yeah.
Where they were, she was just
Yeah.
like and I'm like I'm all for women's lib and women's rights, but I was like, oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
girl is like, it felt like, okay, like women had
Yeah.
a different understanding of like what they could do and what they couldn't do.
Yeah.
Is that the same there? Are women just like going ahead and doing things that otherwise, we'd otherwise be used to men doing here in South Africa? What's kind of the attitude towards the gender roles?
Well, I haven't, it's so funny, I haven't like experienced gender roles
Yeah.
because first of all, my husband's parents, so what I did is I bought my husband's mom an apron for the kitchen, like an African design apron for the kitchen. And I got here and I showed my husband, very excited, because we know women in the kitchen, you want to be cooking for your husband and taking care of him.
Yeah.
And so he looks at me very sad and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, baby. I should have told you that it's actually my dad who's always in the kitchen. My mom never cooks."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, even when she's hosting, and he was like, "Well, yeah, even with the hosting, like my dad is the one who's always like, catering to her and to like everyone, if people had to come over." I'm like, okay. And even with me, when like, you know as a woman, it gets drilled in you that, yeah, Diana, when you're married, you need to wake up at 5, you need to clean, you need to make sure that your husband is fed, wada. And I mean, it's meant well. It's meant that you guys have to take care of each other. you know, but you know how it gets drilled into us, especially as women, where we
Yeah.
always get taught to clean and cook first before the boys, if at all, at home. So, you know, I want to make him lunch. I'm like, oh, be very happy. Can I please make you lunch? And he'll be like, but you don't have to do that. I can do it for us. And I'll be like, okay. You know, it's always a shock if he starts like going into the kitchen and cooking, or he cleans the flats while I'm showering. So yeah, I am realizing that, and it's really liberating. It really puts like the whole term of equality into a different play, because also in our relationship it makes us feel as equals, and it doesn't make me feel like I'm there to serve him and his family, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah. But yeah, and I mean the German, the person running the German country is a woman.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that convinced me to come here. And I was like, what? Um,
So, I mean, generally, then, culturally speaking,
yeah,
or at least how he understands, and not even culturally, just what your
yeah,
husband has seen in his parents' home and what you kind of grew up with, you know,
yeah,
totally different. And so
yeah,
you understand gender roles and they are playing out in your relationship very
yeah,
differently as well, which I'm very
yes,
happy that you get to experience that, to be honest.
yeah, yeah,
Love it. So, like, just, I mean, speaking again with regards to women's rights and women, have you, I mean, you got there when it was lockdown, so
yeah,
you haven't necessarily had experience of, for example, entering the job market and seeing how women,
yeah.
or am I right or wrong? I wouldn't be sure.
No, you're very right. Yeah, I haven't experienced that at all. And I know based from my husband, I know that you know, like in the corporate world, it still is an issue, you know, for
Yeah.
women to take senior and executive roles. But what he is something very interesting that he did tell me is that in a place of employment, you are allowed as a person, as a woman, as a man, you are allowed to go up to your employer and ask them that, you know, what is this person who's in my same role as me earning? What are they earning?
Oh, okay.
Or yeah, or what's the standard salary for this position? And if it turns out that you were offered a lower amount, you can question that. You can
Yeah.
actually make a demand that I well, then I deserve more.
Yeah.
And I found that to be really important because we know how it goes in the workplace. You and a man will be doing the same job, but he's getting paid more for some reason.
Yeah. That,
So
I mean, in terms of the pay gap and gender equality within pay, that is a
yeah,
huge fight, and I mean it's all
yeah,
over the world. So I'm
yeah.
interested to know how, and I mean this is very encouraging and exciting,
Mm, mm.
how a place like Germany with a female leader will operate slightly differently, because I think she would be putting things in place that would be
Yes.
pro woman, you know.
Absolutely. She actually has placed a mandate stating that um, in a business, at least 30%, I think it's 30% has to have female,
Yeah.
or 30% of that employment. And also in terms of senior roles, at least like executive roles, senior roles, at least one female, or maybe, yeah, I'm not sure of my numbers, but
Yeah.
she has said that she needs to see more women in power, like in
Yeah.
higher positions in terms of the workplace. And I mean, it makes sense because also during this COVID time,
Mm.
we heard it all over the news that all the countries that are being run by women like did really well in like managing the whole COVID situation.
Yeah.
I mean, New Zealand, I think, was the first country to be COVID free.
Yeah.
Yeah, Germany was also quite effective with starting the rollout of its vaccines. So yeah, I mean, come on.
So have you gotten the vaccine yet?
No, no, I haven't. I haven't. It's you obviously want to allow the frontline workers and the healthcare workers and you know the older people to get
Yeah.
it first. I'm young, I'm healthy, I do sports, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to like hog the line unnecessarily.
Yo, you do sports.
Yeah.
So do you feel, I know, I mean, it's a hard question, but do you
Yeah.
feel more positive about yourself as a female, as a woman, um, and your future in Germany? Do you feel like there's more opportunity for you?
Well, first and foremost, and this will be very harsh, and this is, it's a very hard conversation to have, because, of the sensitivity around us. But yeah, like I do feel hopeful for my future, and I do feel like I stand a chance because I do feel like my chances of living longer or being alive are bigger in Germany. I mean, unfortunately, South Africa has been rated like number one in the world when it comes to our statistics with gender-based violence, and this is due to it's really because of strangers. It's your friend, it's your lover, your partner, your family. So yeah, unfortunately, I have to say that yeah, I am looking forward to a future as a woman here in Germany, in terms of the workplace, in terms of they're also very big on lack of discrimination in terms of gender roles and race.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah, I'm very excited about that. And also like the legally, I think you can't get paid lower than 15,000 rand.
Mm.
So that's like the start of payment.
That's amazing. Yeah. So they've
Yeah,
actually been able to set up a lot more with regards to just their governmental structures that
yeah,
enable like better pay,
yeah,
and equality, and monitoring of the way that they do business as well. Because I think you can say anything you want, you can have laws, but
yeah,
if laws aren't going to be implemented, and then
yeah,
people actually monitoring how the laws are implemented, then it means nothing.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So
No, for sure. With that said, like one scary fact about Germany is that the standard tax rate is 40%.
crazy,
40.
crazy. I'm not moving to Germany.
Yeah, in as much as this country is efficient, when they talk about German efficiency, they know what they're talking about. I mean, it is a first world country, and it has had like a head start, you
Yeah,
know. It's still not home for me, and that's what I'm struggling with. It doesn't feel like home. And like I said, I don't know if I actually mentioned it to you, or I was thinking it, that here people are very to themselves.
yeah,
Just going back to culture, they're very to themselves. No one will greet you on the streets.
yeah,
No one smiles at you. Everyone is just going on with their business. As soon as you enter a tram or a train, or any form of transportation, transportation, you bring your voice down because you have to respect, like everyone around. If I make a mistake and I laugh too loud in the supermarket, like how Black South African girls laugh.
oh, that would be
um,
me all the time. I'm just
you know,
loud.
I'll have everyone turning around like, oh, oh, like what's that disturbance?
Mm,
And then you have home where there's a sense of community, where you know your neighbor, where
yeah,
you go into like a shop, and if the right music is playing, people will start dancing. We're full of character and flavor, and South Africa is absolutely beautiful. I mean, that's why we always have so many tourists going there.
yeah,
um, we just need to do better
yeah.
with a lot of things.
Those tensions that we were speaking about in the beginning, it's so true. Like, I mean, there's so many beautiful things about South Africa.
Yeah. So,
As is, there are so many beautiful things about every country, and then
yes.
also the lesser beautiful things. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to weigh up the options.
Yeah.
Um, but with that being said, I'm so excited for having spoken to you. And maybe your last words. We've spoken about how you feel or how you've seen women to have functioned in Germany, how you feel your future will be in Germany as a female, or the future
Yeah.
is for women in Germany. I'm not sure if you know much about how women used to function. in Germany. But maybe you can speak a little bit into your definition of women's rights, just to end this off, and whether you see yourself as a feminist or not. In your personal opinion, does one need to be a feminist to stand up for women's rights?
I do see myself as a feminist, and I think that everyone should be a feminist. I'm not sure why there's such a big scare around the word, or around feminism, because being a feminist means that you believe in the rights of equality of all people. Feminism doesn't exclude anyone. It actually fights against a system that's been put in place to restrict and to oppress people that don't fit into the social norms. So that includes communities like LBGT, and it also like really stands for you, no matter your race, your sexual orientation, your social economic status, standing, your religion, or anything that you choose to be. So yeah, I believe that everyone should be like feminists. You don't need to be a woman to be a feminist. You just need to believe in equality and fairness. And I don't think that it's in this day and age that's something that we should be still fighting for, or even talking about, for that matter. And in terms of women's rights and what they are to me, it's the right to freedom. And that's a very big and powerful word, and it's very broad, and that's why I use it. Freedom from violence, freedom in terms of, in African countries, they still child marriages, and they still kids in primary school, in school, fighting against discrimination because of their hair, because of how they're wearing their hair in its natural form. And I know that we're talking about women's rights, but these little girls, they grow up to be women. They look up to us as women. And that's why I bring them in. And women's rights is also the right to be safe, to be alive, to live and not be killed. It's the right to not be discriminated against. It's the right to education, to getting equal pay at work, to if you are qualified for it, to having a chance to apply for the higher or senior position, executive position, and getting a fair chance to actually work in that role, and not be discriminated against because you're a woman. It's too ridiculous. It's too ridiculous. There's a lot of work to be done, and it's sad because we can't even really enjoy or celebrate like International Women's Day or Women's Month, because how can we celebrate when it should be a time of mourning? So many young people and so many women have lost their lives due to gender-based violence, etc., etc. So yeah.
Well, I think again, I think we should be celebrating, mourning, and fighting. I think a lot of the mourning, or a lot of like our fighting, should be, for me, I don't see that anyone can be an activist without actual action. And there's a lot of online activism and not actual real life activism. So for me, if someone is saying, hey, I stand up for women's rights, I'm a feminist, this is what I believe, then I also want to see you doing stuff in real life. You know what I'm saying? So just wallowing and just crying about the fact that we're dying, but not actually doing something about it, for me, that's like, okay, then, and it sucks that like we were having this conversation the other day. We were like, surely like I don't have to be fighting my whole life, like why do we feel, and almost sometimes you can go to a first world country and you're not fighting now to live, and it feels like you actually have an equal standing with all the other women, and you can actually do something now because you're not fighting to survive. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So in a way,
I've actually haven't looked at it that way. yet. And the thing is, if you now you have more time to be free, to live, to do your things, to hustle, whatever, you know, makes sense to you. Now you have more time for life.
Yeah, right. Because you're not just trying to survive. So you can actually now reach like your, you know, your actualization because of the fact that you're not fighting, you know? Anyway, interesting conversations. But Diana, thank you so much for joining us today. So very much appreciated. And I really wish the best for you and your time in Germany. And I hope that you find home. If it's not out there, that you start to find home in here and in the place around you. Really.
Thank you. I'll work on that. That's actually been really helpful. There's many places to find home. You're right.
All the best. And if you need to find home by putting on music loud in your home and dancing, I hope that you do that.
I am actually streaming Gagasi FM and Metro FM, and it really helps.
Amazing.
It really helps. Thank you so much for having me. This has been such an honor. This is such a big and important topic. I'm really grateful that I could be part of the conversation.
Yeah, same. I'm so glad to have spoken to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.